Hey, Fidelity, how can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
This episode is brought to you by Nerds Gummy Clusters, the sweet treat that always elevates the vibe. With a sweet gummy surrounded with tangy, crunchy nerds, every bite of Nerds Gummy Clusters brings you a whole new world of flavor. Whether it's game night, on the way to a concert, or kicking back with your crew, unleash your senses with Nerds Gummy Clusters.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast wherever you are. I've got a digital nomad entrepreneur from Latvia, Nick Frayter of Frayter Media, come onto the podcast to share his story. So if you are in millennial or Gen Z or just someone looking to get out of the 9-to-5 rat race, looking to in terms of digital entrepreneurship, digital nomad success, Nick is the guy. We're going to talk about remote work lifestyle, entrepreneurship, resilience, and it's going to be a really fascinating question about escaping the time trap. Nick, welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Great to be here.
Yeah. Briefly introduce yourself, and I'm really excited to dive into the questions and topics that the audience would be interested in.
Of course, yeah. So I'm the COO of Frayter Media. We're a digital content agency that builds brands for executives, thought leaders, as well as some athletes we have under our belt. Our CEO used to manage social media for Mike Tyson, Mark Sanchez, different celebrities and athletes. And then this past year, we've really focused in more on some of the more corporate clients like healthcare CEOs of AI companies, things like that. But I guess aside from the whole business aspect, I'm a digital nomad, as you mentioned, from the United States, currently living in Latvia while traveling around Europe and building my remote agency.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is I love this aha moment, or just Tony Robbins calls it this moment of decision or destiny. It's just no more. I can't stand it. I'm fed up with it. I'm not going to take this anymore. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, so I guess my whole journey really starts out. I worked a lot of office jobs in the United States back in I guess from 2020 to 2022. I was working an internship in my hometown at a finance firm. And I just remember coming to the office every single day. We would go in 5 days a week. But I wouldn't speak to anybody. I would just sit in like my Excel spreadsheet and I would just be like, I'm not interacting with anybody. Why can't I do this from anywhere else? And then I randomly stumbled upon a Digital Nomad podcast that really introduced me into this concept. This was before digital nomadism was, I guess, even a thing. And I was like, wow, this really makes a lot of sense. You do the exact same work that you're doing in an office, but except you have the freedom to do it anywhere in the world. You can enjoy your life more. Things cost cheaper when you're abroad. So that's amazing. And it was my senior year of college when I really started self-studying software development to become a digital nomad. And after a few months of working in another 9-to-5 that I was not really enjoying, that I wasn't really learning a lot from in Texas, I decided to pretty much sell all my things and move to a country in the Middle East and start my remote journey from there.
Interesting. And we'll talk about some of the pain points and problems people might be facing in the solutions that you can provide. And so one thing is talking about is problem one is people stuck in a corporate job that they hate their boss, they hate their coworkers, but they're afraid to take the lead. How can people transition from this soul sucking to entrepreneurship while managing risk and overcoming fear?
For sure. Yeah, I definitely relate to that. I was going crazy many days, just being stuck in the office thinking, is this really going to be the rest of my life? But I think it also really depends what position you're in. I was fortunate enough to realize this at a young age when I was 21, 22, where I didn't have any kids, any mortgage, any car loans. That it also depends on your situation. But the biggest piece of advice I would give is to learn a skill that can be done remotely. Our economy, I think, is moving towards that anyway, from a more knowledge-based to a more skill-based economy. So things like video editing, things like programming, things like digital marketing, are becoming super valuable, and you can become a freelancer if you really hone in a skill and work from anywhere. And it doesn't take as much money as you think. I remember when I think us Americans have this idea of, oh, Europe, that's super like luxurious, super fancy, super rich. No, like the salaries here are way lower. Cost of living here is way lower than it is in the US.
Mhm.
So in more, I guess it's in closer reach than you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing because I did a stint in South America last
Mhm.
summer just to get out of the United States because things were getting so bad. And like, for example, in Buenos Aires, like you could have a 5-star steak dinner for $10. And I was like, wow,
Mhm.
the same amount here would be like $200. And it's just, it's amazing. Then my next question is, because you were talking about we're transitioning from a knowledge to a skill-based economy. And what's really interesting is when I did your same leap like 2008 when like the
Mhm.
banks were crashing and I couldn't stand my job. I couldn't stand my boss and my employer. I just said, F it, I'm out of here. And that was a scare. I mean, but it felt invigorating. And people back then they were like, you are effing crazy. You left your 6-figure. You're throwing away your future." And then now it's people are getting like pink slips through email or through text. Don't come
Mhm.
into the office. You're fired. So what is it riskier to not start a business than it is to be in a corporate job?
100%. There's risk everywhere, and nothing in life is guaranteed. Nothing like this concept of safety is pretty much gone nowadays. For example, when our parents were growing up, you can go to college, that pretty much guaranteed you a job. You could work at a company as long as you didn't do horribly, that guaranteed you wouldn't be fired and you could work there and then until you retired. But now, again, people with years and years of experience getting fired and laid off, and they have a car to pay off, they have kids to feed, they have a mortgage to pay off. So I think it is really scary, and I think in the US a lot of people get caught in this trap of debt, which is really like soul crushing, and
Mm,
it makes people feel rich, but as
mm,
soon as something bad happens, you have to go and pay that off.
mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. It kind of reminds me because I used to be a fan of The Simpsons and like Homer Simpson's. You could be do nothing and sit on your watch TV and be able to afford a wife and 2 kids and a house and a car and kind of just do nothing. But now these days you can't do that. It's yeah. So the next question I have for you is what some of the problems other people might be facing or listening to and solutions that you could provide are the second thing is struggling to start a business with limited money, but you started broke and you teach bootstrapping strategies and leveraging skills and networking. So talk about that.
Yeah, so my brother and I started our business in a country in the Middle East called Cyprus. I guess it's technically European Union, but it's the Middle East. So we sold everything we owned in Dallas when we were both living there, saved up all our money so we can move and start we were living in a 1-bedroom apartment, sharing a bed, toilet didn't work, no shower curtain. So it was like we were really broke. But I guess what we leveraged was the skills that we already had. My brother had a lot of experience in digital marketing, in digital content, and he's again managed for people like Mike Tyson, Mark Sanchez, Steven Crowder, people with millions and millions of followers. So that was a great starting point. And then I leveraged my skills in business, my degree in business from Georgetown, my experience working in companies like EY and Interactive Brokers. So we combined those skills that we already had to make up for maybe what we didn't have in terms of money and finances.
Mm. The other thing I notice about a lot of entrepreneurs these days is that they started out with excellent credentials and background. You were at EY, and some of my colleagues they worked at Goldman, and they did what you are talking about is skills, leverage skills. But then what happens if, for example, if you don't have these types of backgrounds, are you at a disadvantage? Because if you don't have these backgrounds, you're either stuck in a job you hate or you don't have the knowledge or skills to be able to translate that. So talk about, is that true or can anybody do this?
I guess to be completely 100% honest, I think a lot of these companies get maybe too much, like too big of a reputation. For example, at EY, in a great company, loved everything about it, but I wasn't doing anything like crazy. I wasn't curing cancer. I wasn't learning the highest level math and coding there. So I think the company name doesn't really matter as much as what you're actually doing on your job and the actual skills that you have. Same thing with college. I think we're seeing that people that don't go to college or graduate from maybe lower level universities have just the same amount of skills, if not even more, as people that graduate these top prestigious universities. And that's what I mean when I say that the economy is shifting towards more skill based, less this knowledge, prestige that we used to think about. So I think everybody has a skill set. And if you don't, either find somebody that does have some skills that you can leverage and work with to make things easier for you, or take an online course, watch some YouTube videos about a skill that is in demand that you can then leverage into your business.
Mhm. Yeah, it reminds me, Elon was recently talking about how he hires for skill as opposed to hire for pedigree, which was
Mhm.
really enlightening. The other question I have for you is, it seems like it seems like if you don't have these kind of privileged backgrounds, it's just going to make you like it's going to if you it's just going to make you either hungrier, and you're going to figure out a way, or you're just going to, but it's really interesting how you describe that. The
Mhm.
follow-up question I have for you is, with the introduction of artificial intelligence, and now we're getting into video gen AI, and also now we're getting into AI bots, how is this impacting the landscape? Is it going to make it more competitive? What are your thoughts on leveraging artificial intelligence?
In terms of the competitive landscape, I think there are two things that really scare me in terms of Western workers, the future for Western workers. One, yes, is AI. A lot of these jobs that are more mundane or repetitive tasks are being replaced by AI, robotics, different types of machinery, things like that. And two, what I think is a big threat for Western workers is offshoring. The world is getting better and better at English. The world is getting better and better at, or just getting more educated. So maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was a problem hiring somebody from India or Pakistan because there was a big language barrier, the education wasn't as high. Now the whole world is catching up to America. For example, when I was working in Cyprus, I was working at EY Cyprus, and a lot of our clients that we had were from the UK, because instead of hiring UK-based developers where they would have to pay them a lot more money, they would just hire us in Cyprus. And everybody there spoke English perfectly. People were super, super smart. So that, again, is something that I think is a big threat to Western workers, along with AI, like we always hear about.
Hmm. Yeah. And how do you think, with, obviously you're in Latvia, but I'm sure you keep up with, but Trump, he's trying to bring all jobs back on shore in tariffs. And I think it was the NAFTA and all these different policies that encouraged offshoring. And there was a lot of
Mhm.
tax advantages. But now he's trying to bring all these jobs back, and he wants to make the United States the leader in artificial intelligence. How does that impact your views on digital nomadism?
That's a good question. I guess I'm not super, super educated on the topic, so I can't give you, a great answer. But for me, I think that will affect more large corporations, those tax laws and them having to bring back more jobs to the United States. But for an agency like ours, and I think the world is also moving towards these smaller, leaner agencies slash companies, it just still makes more sense for them to, one, not have an office, not have this huge overhead, two, hire freelancers and skilled workers from these other countries where they could pay them a lot less, but also a very fair wage in their country and providing them with opportunities. So I think that's going to affect more of the larger companies, but I do think that the world is moving towards these leaner companies.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. The next question I have for you is, because you talk about how athletes can build a strong personal brand, and how is it different than what kind of mainstream is thinking? What are your thoughts on, because now, like, for example, college football players, and they actually can, I heard, like, some of them are making millions just because of what was it, the NCAA, all these restrictions around paying athletes is lifted. What tools can athletes use to build a strong personal brand based on your experience?
Yeah, so digital content and social media is everything. Instagram, X, Twitter, YouTube. we see so many athletes that are making so much money, and even from high school, these high school athletes that have more followers than the pros. That has definitely been extremely helpful in terms of pushing athletes forward. But a personal brand is honestly for everybody. We've worked with athletes as well as CEOs, people that are experts in their fields and thought leaders. So that is something that everybody can use. And as we mentioned before, nothing is guaranteed. There's no more job security, but having a personal brand and creating content, getting your name out there is one way for people to know about you and to, in some way, secure your future.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. A follow-up question I have for you is because you work in the combat sports industries, and I'm just curious, what are the strategies? How are the strategies for digital marketing in combat sports different than, I don't know, football or baseball or basketball?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for combat sports, it's all about understanding the sport, the market, the niche very well, whatever that is that you're in. So my brother and I, we've been following combat sports for a very long time. We know exactly what's trending right now, if there's a big event coming up, what people will be searching, what fighters are most talked about. So we always try to center content around what is happening next, what are people searching in now. One big thing we never do is try to look back or on anything that's happened in the past, because then that won't make the content very useful in the future. So we try to make the content as evergreen as possible, so it is always relevant in terms of future events.
The another question I have for you is, what tools do you use to manage your business from anywhere?
hmm So Microsoft Teams is our best friend. That's what we use for communicating with our team internally. That's been very helpful. We also use this tool called Buffer, which allows us to post content on our clients' behalf. So instead of them needing to log into their social media accounts, post everything, do all this mundane work themselves, we can do that on their behalf, as well as obviously the big AI search engines. Perplexity is a big one. That's like a chat GPT, but with Google and the internet that it searches. That's very helpful when doing research, when trying to find the latest stories to react to or to understand in our niche, in our industry. And the last one I would give is this tool called SendSpark. It is more for sales and outreach methods, but it allows you to send personalized videos to prospective clients, to prospects, either with their website in the background or just a talking face video. So that's definitely a way to boost your outreach if you're an agency looking to get more sales and create more personalized content.
Interesting. And so my question for you, because you use Perplexity, how is Perplexity different than ChatGPT? I'm just curious.
So the way I look at it is ChatGPT is more task-based. It's more for executing a specific task that you give it, while Perplexity is more about retrieving information from the internet that you
Oh,
need.
oh, interesting. So it'd probably be good for like SEO, keyword search, YouTube search. Interesting. Yeah. My, I know we have around a couple minutes. And what's the biggest mistake to avoid when leaving a corporate job? Excuse me, to start a business?
Would you wear the same shoes for every occasion? Or rock the same outfit 7 days a week? Of course not. Your style is better with options. Your investments could be too. Sibo Index options give you access to various contract sizes, global trading hours, and potential tax advantages. That's a good look for any portfolio. If you're ready to invest in style, head to betterwithoptions.com. There are risks associated with Sibo Company products. Review the disclosures and disclaimers at sibo.com/US_disclaimers.
Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Virtuo Pop, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
The biggest mistake would probably be I guess there's two sides of this coin. One mistake is to rush in too soon and go in with no plan, no safety net, and nothing. My brother and I, we saved for many months. We didn't go out, saved our money, we're learning skills. We're planning our move to Cyprus for many months before we finally quit and made the jump. But the other big thing is people that never do it. That's also a big mistake. That's probably an even bigger mistake than the first one. Make sure you find the balance of having all the right pieces into place, but also not being afraid and taking that jump, because it's not as scary as it seems, and it'll definitely be worth it.
Yeah. One insight that I gained was basically if you just move yourself to a very low cost of living area, that kind of frees, and then you have time to devote, and you have these skills. And you have something up and running. Because basically your expenses are dropped dramatically decreased. But the hard part is taking that leap and buying that plane ticket or selling all your stuff.
Which is all mental at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's all in your head.
Yeah, which I want to ask you about the mindset shifts and what mindset shifts are necessary for entrepreneurial success.
This is a great question. Thinking like an entrepreneur is huge, and thinking like a digital nomad is very big. I don't know. I was following the traditional path of go to college, get a 9 to 5, go out to the bar with your friends on Friday, Saturday, and then get ready for work on Sunday to do it all over again. And I was just like terrified. That seems like a very terrifying existence to me. But after my brother and I made that move to Cyprus, it really opened the whole world for me. It's whoa, I did this. Like I took a step outside of this box that we're all supposed to be in, and I'm fine. I'm still alive. Life still goes on. I just need to find a different way to make money and figure out a different way to work. So that's definitely a big mindset shift that you need to have, as well as probably the biggest difference between corporate jobs and entrepreneurship is finding your own tasks and solving problems for yourself. In a corporate job, there's always going to be a boss to give you a task. Here, get this done, do this and this. In entrepreneurship, you need to figure out, okay, what is the problem? What do I need to get done today? How do I figure out a solution? It's all on you and your business partner, which is definitely a big mindset shift, which we're not really taught in school.
Yeah. Yeah. When you were describing this kind of box, it reminded me of I think it was Henry Ford who designed this kind of, we're meant to like work in factories and sit in cubicles and it was not designed for the way we live today. I think that's why so many people are so frustrated. How can people find you and reach out to you, follow your social media, check out your content, and connect with you?
Yeah, so they could check out freightermedia.com. I think my name should be listed here so you could see how it's spelled. So word freightermedia.com, you could see who we've worked with, some of the work we do, some of the content we've created. But I also post a lot on my LinkedIn. It's more business related content. I post about our client wins, post about any advice that I have for marketing, social media, things like that, as well as just exciting news that's happening in the marketing space. So I look forward to connecting.
Awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation, and great to meet a fellow digital nomad, and keep up the great work and stay safe.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.